On this stage today in front of all of you, the creator of the show that brings us all together, and many other wonderful things besides. Just a little note, we're going to do this in a bit of a format. The first 60 minutes or so is going to be, well, probably a little bit less now since we're starting a little late, but first we're going to do a segment of pure interview, and then we will do fan Q&A. So get your questions in your heads. A couple things though. Please don't ask Lauren, what does she think of seasons 3 through 6? Please don't ask Lauren, what were you planning to do with the show? She's on the record, okay, people? You have so many other wonderful things to ask about. It's going to be fantastic. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you a woman who, in this room, probably needs no introduction whatsoever. An amazing force in animation for the last 25 years, or more, who has worked on such great things as The Iron Giant, Powerpuff Girls, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Wander Over Yonder, and of course a little thing you may have heard of called My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Everybody, the one and only Lauren Faust.
Hi everybody, thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
So like I said, we're going to do this in a bit of an interview style, a little Terry Gross fresh air thing going on. I hope you guys are okay with that. So we're going to cover basically as much of Lauren's illustrious career as we can. So we're going to start early. Yeah. Because as I think most people here know, the roots of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic go way, way back into Lauren's childhood. Is that right? That is correct, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
If anyone hasn't seen it, there's a wonderful video on YouTube. You should look it up. Just Google Lauren Faust was my babysitter. You'll find it. And a lovely young woman describes how a teenage Lauren Faust came to her home, babysat her, and regaled her with stories of magical ponies. You may have met a few of them in the intervening years. So tell us a little bit about those early years making up those stories in your head.
My Little Pony was absolutely my favorite toy when I was a kid. They came out, around the time I was 6. And I liked them immediately, but then as soon as, Pegasus and Unicorns came into the mix, like that was kind of it for me, and Barbie and Strawberry Shortcake kind of went out the window. Honestly, I was kind of obsessed with them, and I had them all set up in my bedroom, all around. I sort of made areas of my bedroom, kind of like the different areas of the land that they live in and that they fly around and have adventures in. And as I played with them, and sometimes played with them with little girlfriends I had, I couldn't help but sort of naturally and organically apply certain personalities to certain toys. The cutie marks were very meaningful to me very early on. A character, a pony that has lightning bolts on her butt. That means something, right? Like, why does that Pegasus have lightning bolts? So it was easy for me to kind of make up reasons why. Why does this one have butterflies? Why does this one have diamonds? Why does this one have hot dogs? There was one with hot dogs.
But you found, when we spoke earlier, you said that you found a lot of the earlier generation animations to be less to your liking.
Yes, so that was a big thing for me, because it was my favorite toy, and I spent all of my time dreaming up what the ponies did, and how they interacted with one another, and what sort of adventures they went on. And then when I watched the show, I liked my stories better. you know, and now from a professional perspective, I kind of understand what was going on, and I talk about this frequently. You know, there's people get really fearful when they're making entertainment for girls, and they think that girls can't really handle anything scary, and they don't want to ever show anybody being mean, and that even bothered me when I was 7.
Right.
It was boring.
You had mentioned that there was a particular story that really did influence you because it did manage to take you to a dark place, and that I'm trying to.
Well, that was the very first one.
No, you had mentioned a different work when we spoke on the phone. Oh no, now
I can't remember.
Oh well. but no, I wish I did.
Oh, okay.
I'm awful.
If I think of it, I'm sure it'll come to me 20 minutes
What
from
are
now.
some of the stories that you think, you know, that when you were growing up did manage to buck the trend and be successful in breaking out of the pink ghetto?
I can't, you know, honestly, I can't think of any. What I ended up doing was I played with the girly toys. I played with Pony, I played with Strawberry Shortcake. I had an army of stuffed animals in my bedroom, all with names. I drew girly stuff all the time, but I watched the boy shows. And I read boy comic books, and I almost feel like as an artist getting older, I've sort of kind of sometimes smashed those together a little bit.
Oh, I think a lot of us who are, you know, older geeky women of a certain generation all have very similar stories to tell.
Yeah, like some of the themes and some of the, you know, more exciting, adventure-y kind of stuff, and even the more sort of like shocking or emotional things were okay in boys' entertainment, but not in girls. So I wanted to see more of that in my girls' entertainment.
And so was that a motivation for you early on?
Oh yes, very much so.
And so what made you say to yourself, okay, I am going to tell these stories professionally, I'm going to make the best entertainment I can for girls and everybody else?
You know, this is kind of a sad story. When I was in college, I shared a workspace with a young man, and we were looking at some character designs that we had acquired from a movie. And we were kind of laughing and joking about how it wasn't a very good character design, and it was kind of just lame and cliche. And then he suddenly said, "Yeah, you can just tell a girl designed it."
Oh, actually, I think that was the story. That was the story.
That might have
That was the
been.
story.
No, and that, you know, that guy, and I gotta give him credit, like I worked with him 10 years later and he apologized. Without any prompt, he just realized how awful that was that he said that. But I went back to my dorm room and cried a lot. And I don't know, I just had this little moment where I was like, oh, I'm gonna show him, like I'm gonna show them all. Like I was so, you know, I was so like determined to try to put a dent in that terrible stereotype. You know, and then when I got a chance to work on the Powerpuff Girls, that was like, this is it, they're doing it here. You know, somebody's finally doing it and I want to be a part of it.
Well, before we get to the Powerpuff Girls, because we do want to talk about the Powerpuff Girls.
Don't we all?
You had, there was an intermediary step there. You know, you made your early break-ins on, as an animator on a couple of wonderful movies that are unfortunately not as well known as they could be.
Yeah. My first like real job out of school was animating on a movie called Cats Don't Dance.
See this movie. See it.
No, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful little movie, but it was a total flop. And in the years following after I worked on it, I ran into a lot of people who would say, "Oh, I saw that. They had that on Disney. That was really good." Like they were surprised, you know. Like I expected it to be a piece of crap, but it was really good. So that's what I always tell people. It's really not as bad as you think it is. It's actually quite wonderful.
I really recommend it to anyone.
No, it's wonderful. And that was my first job, and I was an animator on the lead female character, a cat named Sawyer. And then, you know, at the beginning of my career, I was determined to work on lead female characters as an animator.
But then you got a little bit sidestepped off that with The Iron Giant, which is still a lovely movie, and everyone should see it.
Yeah, no, Iron Giant is phenomenal. Brad Bird's directing debut. It was an honor to work on it.
Why, that would be Pixar's Brad Bird?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, it would.
Brad Bird, the director of Incredibles.
That Brad Bird!
And Ratatouille. Yeah, and he went on to direct some live-action movies. Yeah, I worked on Iron Giant for a little while. You know, as wonderful as that movie was, I didn't play a really huge part. I mostly animated scenes with the mother Annie and the little boy Hogarth. And then, you know, the animation industry sort of, like, the bottom fell out of it after that. There weren't as many opportunities for traditional animators, you know, back in the old days when we put 5 pieces of paper between our fingers and drew with pencils. So I looked into other opportunities, and that's when Powerpuff Girls, like, got my attention.
Okay, so how did that happen?
Well, it started because I just, you know, I watched TV. I watched TV, and you know, it was already starting to get a little popular, so I heard about it and I watched it. And I remember thinking, years earlier when Dexter's Laboratory came out, and I didn't know anybody who worked on it, I remember just being impressed by it, just going, you know, these guys know that, you know, their budgets are small and TV animation is a little limited and you can't make it look as great as feature animation, and like these guys designed their show to work within those limitations really well. So I was already impressed with the crew that moved on to Powerpuff Girls. And then I saw the episode with the Rowdy Rough Boys. And I just, written and storyboarded by the amazing Paul Rudish, who helped on My Little Pony, actually. And just went, oh, I have to work on this show. I had a friend who was working on it, and as a director, and he knew that they were looking for storyboard artists, and he got me a test, and I did the test, and I turned it in one morning, and I got the call to be hired that afternoon, which was awesome.
Well, that's how you know you've done it right. You get the call that afternoon.
Yeah, no, I felt pretty good about myself.
And so then I gather a fairly important meeting in your life took place shortly thereafter.
Yes, that's where I met my husband, Craig McCracken.
Wow.
And started the most impressive power couple of Western animation in I don't even know how long.
Yes, so.
Yes. So, with Powerpuff Girls, how did that feed that motivation that you described earlier about how do you feel that you executed on your motivation to tell better stories about women, for women and for everyone else, though, but to be, you know, universal?
Well, I mean, the thing is that they were already doing it. So I knew that I didn't have to go in there and fight and argue with people that it was possible. You know, it was happening, and that meant to me that I could go in with my ideas and my thoughts and the approach that I wanted to take to female characters, and do it without being questioned, because the format was already there. So, and I'd never storyboarded before when I had gotten that job, so there was a lot for me to learn. Also to learn about the television production process, but you know, I had the forum that I always wanted to have for the types of stories I want to tell, and you know, I love the show itself, and I love the humor behind it, but I loved those girls, and I loved that, you know, nobody questioned the fact that they kicked ass, you know.
Yeah, wasn't the original title that Craig came up with the Whoop-Ass Girls?
The Whoop-Ass Girls, yeah. Sugar, spice, everything nice, and a can of whoop-ass.
Nice.
But you can't say whoop-ass on children's television. You can't say ass.
But we can say that here.
Yes,
and no,
clearly.
I think we're not going to damage anybody.
Oh, sorry. Sorry to the kids.
Any kids don't say that at home.
Yeah, don't say that.
So you quickly, though, rose through the ranks at Powerpuff, you know. Tell us about some of the, you know, how did that progress from storyboarding to who eventually didn't you end up directing the feature-length film?
No. Craig directed that. I was on the story crew, and then I was I supervised the character layouts. Yeah, I just I did several boards that people liked, and started getting invited into the story room to talk about story ideas. Got a nice position on the movie, and was able to start be on that from the beginning all the way to the end, which was really exciting to me, because usually that was the first time I was able to help start something. I usually would come on in the middle. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, I guess people liked what I was doing, so they just kept asking me to do more.
Right, so by the time the show ended, you had fulfilled several roles as a writer, story editor, storyboarder, as you mentioned.
Yes, a writer. Well, on Powerpuff Girls, it was a fascinating production process, because the storyboarders wrote the episodes.
Well, that seems very common these days.
Yeah, well, maybe half of the shows that are out there in the world are board driven, and the other half are script driven. And Powerpuff Girls was board driven, so we got a little outline of what the basic bones of the story needed to be, but then we got to actually write it while we were drawing it. And as I was doing that, I was learning that it was easier for me to write it all down before I drew it. Which kind of segued me into writing scripts.
Okay, so by the time Powerpuff Girls is winding down, it's coming time for you and Craig to do a new project, and we get Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, which is, again, if you people have not seen Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, please see it. Please see it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, were you not in fact the inspiration for Frankie Foster?
I don't know if I was the inspiration, but as we were working her
looks
out,
like you.
Yeah, as we were working her out, it just became pretty clear that she was me with a slightly worse temper. Slightly. But yeah. And then Wilt was a combination of one of our writers, who's just this really tall guy who's exceptionally nice, and one of our dogs. And just the idea of the foster home in general was all of our dogs have always been rescues, and we kind of looked to sort of the typical dogs that you see at the pound that just can't get adopted for whatever reason, and that was a big inspiration for the Foster's characters. Wilt is the dog who's really great and really sweet and really smart, but he's missing a leg, or he's he's got patches of fur missing, and there's something wrong with him, and he can't get adopted even though he's so great. Eduardo is the dog who is fear aggressive. He's really sweet, but he's terrified of everything, but he takes that out in being scary, and those dogs can't get adopted.
Now,
and Coco's just a crazy dog.
well, yeah. Now, Foster's Home is also not a show that fell very readily into a traditional gender binary, despite Mac and Blue being male characters who were your central leads, but it's still what you wouldn't really call this a boyish, mannish.
No, we always referred to the show as gender neutral, and when you're pitching shows to studios, they'll tell you, we want it to be for boys, or we want it to be gender neutral, and on very rare, beautiful occasions, they tell you, they want it to be for girls. But gender neutral is a big favorite word of animation studios and networks, and Foster's was, the character, you look at the cast, it's still predominantly male, but the tone of it, we felt like all the characters were relatable to either gender. Like you said, there was no aggro, adventure boys or anything like that.
Hey, not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. But in order to get that sort of, Craig and I both believe very strongly in all ages entertainment. And every show that both of us have worked on, we make it for kids, but we want parents to watch it too, and we want little kids to watch it, and we want older kids to watch it, and we want, you know, teenagers who aren't afraid of being called a geek to watch it.
What's your famous line? You didn't want the parents to want to shoot themselves in the head?
Yes, yes. When I was developing My Little Pony, I was like, yes, it's for little girls, but if mom wants to sit down and watch it with her, she won't want to shoot herself in the head. Because there's a lot of little kids show that...
I guess that didn't happen. No, I don't see many...
I don't think so.
So okay. So you've had this amazing successful run with Powerpuff. You've had this surprising, amazing, successful run with Foster's Home. Now, at this point, I think your relationship with Cartoon Network was ending. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was a change of leadership, and that usually shakes things up pretty bad. Their goals for what they wanted out of the shows really changed. And for me personally, like, I had a lot of fun on Foster's, and to this day, it's my favorite job I ever had. It was just fun, and we had a great crew.
Give it up for Foster's Home, everybody.
But you know, by then I was turning 30, and I was kind of ready to try to do my own thing. You know. Powerpuff Girls was awesome, but I still wanted to bring this, you know, I still wanted to do stuff that was primarily targeted towards girls and explored traditionally girlish themes.
And to that end, you started developing a property that unfortunately has not seen the light of day. Can you tell some folks about it?
It saw a little light, but not much. So I developed a line of dolls called Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls. And I went in the direction of dolls instead of cartoons, instead of TV, because I had been pitching shows and getting a lot of feedback, like, we really love it, but we don't want shows for girls. And I just went, you know what, nobody's going to tell me that little girls don't like dolls. You know, everybody's telling me that little girls don't like cartoons, but nobody's going to tell me little girls don't like dolls. So I developed a doll line, and you know, it had a lot of interest, but we just couldn't quite seem to get it going. Ultimately, the dolls I designed, they were these big rag dolls. They ended up in FAO Schwartz just when the economy crashed. And nobody was going to shell out cash for a $50 doll.
Well, I can say that my Pluto doll is one of my favorites.
Yay!
But nevertheless, the interest that had been generated by Milky Way and the Galaxy Girls lands you a fateful...
Yeah, no, this was crazy. So my partner, I had a licensing partner in the whole shebang, and she just kept telling me, everybody's interested in this, and people want to make the dolls, and they want to make t-shirts, they want to make this, but they won't do it unless there's a cartoon, which was just like, oh, that's the whole reason I made these, because I didn't want to make a cartoon. We started kind of pitching possible cartoon ideas. If anybody remembers back several years back on Cartoon Network, they did a Star Wars micro series. Gendy Tartakovsky made it. For a while, Cartoon Network was looking for more micro series, so I put together a Galaxy Girls micro series that was going to be told entirely to music, and it was going to be a pop opera.
Nice.
Now I want to see this. Why doesn't this exist?
Because nobody likes that format. But I went in and I got a meeting with Hasbro to pitch the dolls and to pitch the cartoon, and I did the pitch, and at the end of the pitch, the executive I was pitching to said, well, I like this, and this is really cool, but what do you think of this? And she pulled out a DVD from around 2006 called The Princess Promenade of My Little Pony, and...
I believe that was Generation 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Gen 3, and it was just like... It was just fuchsia and purple and turquoise, and like those are the only three colors that girls like, apparently. Because every single
I don't own a single thing that isn't any of those colors.
It's a terrible combination, but it's on everything for girls. And it was she said, will you watch this? She said, and it was funny because she said, I haven't even, she was new, and she said, I haven't even watched this yet, but I have a feeling it's probably pretty terrible. So she said, will you watch this and see if you think there's anything you could do with it? And I told her, well, it was my favorite toy when I was a kid, and I didn't tell her this, but I was really gun shy about working for toy companies because I've heard a million nightmare stories. But because it was absolutely my favorite idea, and I pretty much already knew what I wanted to do the second she asked me, I said I'd give it a go. And what was really cool was the people I was working with at the time at Hasbro, they just had a lot of success with the Transformers movie, and they were really interested in making more entertainment that wasn't just commercials. So they had this great strategy, this brilliant, just revolutionary strategy of hiring storytellers to tell stories.
What? Storytellers?
Instead of toy designers.
I don't trust it.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But it might just work.
No, I don't think it's worked.
So what was really nice was, because they really had that attitude, and they seemed really grateful to have me on board. Every single time I pitched them sort of a rough idea or just kind of a basic concept, they kept saying yes, and I kept going, this is gonna get stupid any second. This is just gonna go bad any minute now.
And yet.
I was as surprised as anybody. Every time I pitched something, they said yes. So then I put together even more and elaborated even more, and they said yes. They kept saying yes. I remember I had a really big pitch at Hasbro Studios on the East Coast, and the person who was the head of the brand team walked in the room. She was a little late and went, I am prepared to be open-minded.
She sounded just like that, I bet.
It was pretty close. And then I pitched it, and then everybody looked to her to see what she thought, because I guess she was hard to please, and which is why she had her job. And she said, I don't hate this.
From some people, that's high praise.
Well, apparently it was. So they let me keep going, and I was asking for stuff that I never thought they'd ask me for, because Rainbow Dash, G3 Rainbow Dash was a fashionista, and she loved shopping and wearing clothes. And I'm like, what does that have to do with rainbows or dashing?
Have you seen the little it's a tiny little YouTube clip called G4 Rainbow Dash Reacts to G3
No,
Rainbow Dash.
alright, I gotta look that up.
You
That
should do.
good.
It's a funny one. It's G4 Rainbow Dash is not impressed.
Yeah, no, of course not. So here I am, turning one of their girliest characters who loves clothes and shopping, and I think she said darling a lot, maybe, I don't remember. But, into the mega tomboy jock, and they were cool with that, and that was great. I mean, that was amazing.
It's not like those characteristics didn't find their ways into other characters on the show. Rarity. But it was also now, as I understand it, they wanted a fashion character.
No, that was my idea.
Wait, really?
Yes,
I was told that was actually Hasbro's idea,
Nope.
that your modification was to make it, really?
I figured they probably would.
Okay, so you were just anticipating.
Yeah, I was guessing, but no, here's the big thing for me. When I approached, this was kind of my theme for Galaxy Girls, but I thought it was easy for me to bring it over to My Little Pony. There are so many different ways to be a girl. And they're all good. You can be a jock, you can be a tomboy, you can be a nerd, you can be a beautiful girl who's really into clothes. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong with it is when every single girl is like that, which is what happens all too often. People ask me all the time what I think of princess movies, because there's so many people who dislike them. And I'm like, I love princess movies. I love princess movies. I just hate that everything is a princess movie. Can we have movies about girls who aren't princesses?
Well, or if they are princesses, like a butterfly.
Yeah, sure,
Princess
yeah.
Who kicks a lot of butt.
Yeah, or let's explore the huge, variety of the types of girls there are in the world. So when I approached My Little Pony, I wanted to be inclusive. I always called them icons of girliness. They're very kind of. I started out with a very definitive and recognizable trope, and then went in and put some twists on it. And I always use Rarity as my favorite example because the stereotype is the fashionista who loves shopping and who's really vain and just really into her looks and often not very nice. Usually not very nice, And I went, she's into beauty, but who else is into beauty? Artists. And what is, it's one thing to go out shopping all the time, but it's another thing to design your own clothes. Rarity's an artist.
Yes.
She's not a shopaholic. She's also a business owner. I mean, come on. And on top
that's as empowered as it gets.
Right.
Well, now, one thing I noticed with regard to the reactions that people have to Rarity is that they tend to be kind of blah on her until they get to Dress for Success.
I love that episode.
Everyone love that episode? Yeah. And yes, once we get to see that depth of Rarity as creator, suddenly she jumps into everyone's best pony or supposed to at slots. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with how funny Tabitha St. Germain is, too.
Yes, it does.
She brought a lot of humor to that character that we weren't expecting.
I'm of the opinion you could probably do a whole cartoon with just Tabitha as your voice cast.
Very likely, yes. She has a very impressive range, and just a great sense of humor. But yeah, and on top of it all, it was interesting to me to see when the Brony fandom was unfolding that there were a lot of people after the first few episodes jumped on the stereotype wagon and started calling Rarity a snob and calling her vain. But a few episodes in, they started to realize, oh wait, no, she's not. And they didn't watch very closely. They just jumped to that conclusion. And then after they started to get to know her, that's why I made her the element of generosity. She loves being beautiful, and she wants to be beautiful. She wants everybody to be beautiful. She loves herself, and she thinks everybody should love themselves. And she
Seems
doesn't.
like a valid philosophy to me, I think.
Yeah, no, and she would never step on somebody else to get ahead. She would never be jealous of somebody else's beauty. She would be happy for them. And that's
even if it kills her.
Yes. So like that, and I wanted to apply that to most of the characters. It's like, let's take this trope, and then let's think about all the the typical things that are applied to those tropes, and let's tweak them a little bit. Let's give everybody something new, and what's the good underneath the bad stereotype.
Absolutely. So, as now, I understand that the work schedule and being separated from the creative team did eventually wear on you.
Yeah, it was a tough production. I was used to on shows like Powerpuff Girls and a certain kind of production process on Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and pretty much the way studios do it in Burbank. And the My Little Pony schedule, I don't know how it is now, but when I was working on it, it was literally, not exaggerating, twice as fast as what I was used to working on. And on top of that, it shows like Powerpuff, Foster's, my husband's show Wander Over Yonder, most everything that's produced in Burbank, you have a pre-production crew, so working with you, and you sit in a studio and you're surrounded, you have your art director, you have your storyboard artist, you have your writers, you have your designers, you have your colorists, and they all put together a big package and send it on off to an overseas studio, whether it's in Korea or Canada or whatever. They do the bulk of the work under our direction, send it all back to us, and we finish it up. And this is exactly what everybody does at DHX. But I was completely separated from them. So I was alone in Burbank. I had my writing staff, which was great, but they were not staff writers, so I only got to see them like once a month. So it ended up being a very heavy workload that I wasn't really prepared for, and I did it for as long as I could, and then I crashed.
Well, I mean, then again though, by building the bones you built, you created something that has been able to be handed to subsequent creative teams and maintain its integrity, maintain its identity. I mean, it's still very clearly the show you started in so many ways. It's not exactly the show you started, but it's still, I mean, so close you can hardly tell the difference. And I think that's a testament to the foundation that you laid.
Sure.
Hey, I had to fangirl a little bit, right? So, I mean, what do you feel like you achieved though with these characters? Do you feel like you made it, like you made it the way you wanted it? That you succeeded in achieving the vision you meant?
Yeah, and you know, you're working on a team, so you know, you go in there with your vision and people add to it. You know, people help adjust it. You know, your voice actors make you think of your characters in a slightly different light, and certain storyboard artists you're working with, your directors have ideas that you go, ooh, that makes that stronger, let's do that. But what my goals were, I think, in the first season and most of the second season were what I wanted to achieve, yeah. So maybe killing myself was maybe a little worth it.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think many creators can say that in the entertainment business, which is, you know, can be very brutal.
Yeah, no, I feel very fortunate.
So, post Pony, how long before you found yourself able to start working again and eventually joining Craig on, say, Wander and other products?
Craig was developing Wander Over Yonder while I was finishing up on Pony, and when that got greenlit, he brought me on as a producer. And I helped run the story room. I was also the story editor, so I worked a lot with the writers primarily. And I stayed on that for about a season.
Did you have anything at all to do with season 2? Because I'm sensing a little bit of you in Lord Dominator, I'm just saying.
Oh yeah? Well, I don't know, maybe I inspired Craig. No, I had nothing to do with Lord Dominator, actually.
Yeah, she's another snarky redhead.
But before I went to Wander, I had done some shorts for Warner Brothers and DC Nation.
Yes, oh my goodness. What were those called again?
The Super Best Friends Forever! Which was a wonderful experience to take 3 classic superhero characters that have been beloved for generations and put a new spin on them. And it just seems so obvious to me. I'm just like, why hasn't anybody taken Batgirl and Supergirl and Wonder Girl and made them a team? Like, why hasn't this happened yet? So, like, I left, when I finished with Wander Over Yonder after season 1, I actually spent several months developing that into a TV show.
And they didn't bite. Why did they not
didn't
bite?
go. I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm getting sick of hearing myself say it, but they didn't want a show for girls. Warner Brothers and DC Nation and DC were so supportive, and they wanted it so bad, and they were so good to me, but we just couldn't find a home for it because people were gun shy about.
So it was the networks, not the.
No. Warner Brothers and DC were wonderful, but the networks, it was the same thing I always got. We really love it, but we already have one girl show. We don't need another one, or we just don't think.
One whole girl show, you said.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's enough. So yeah, I know I sound like a broken record, and I'm probably driving everybody crazy, but I can't. I'm sick of hearing it myself. But that's what happened again. But we were still going to try. We were still working on it and trying to push through. But I got offered a job at Sony Animation.
Yep. Well, do you really want to talk much about the Medusa experience?
You know, I'll just say real quick, it was going really well for a long time. There was a wonderful team over there, just very supportive executives who were just so good to me and gave me a lot of trust and freedom. And just, God, we had the most amazing crew, just these amazingly talented artists and this fantastic writer, and I met so many people I wanna work with again, but you know, there was just a change of leadership. There was a change of leadership, and the direction that the movie was going in just didn't jive with a new strategy that was coming in, and it's just, you know, it's a Hollywood tale as old as time. Like, there's a million other stories just like that. So moving on from that, and that's where I am now. It's all about what's next.
We can't wait to see what's next, although there is a little thing that's keeping you a little busy in the meantime, a little video game that I
Oh, yes.
told you about. So, how did that end up happening? What just made you say, Main Six, you guys got really shafted, and I'm gonna just help you out?
You know, it was two things. First of all, I loved what they were doing. I loved it. It was one of the, I think I said it like at BronyCon in 2012. Somebody asked me like what was my favorite fan project, and like I could just immediately just blurt it out, fighting is magic.
You do know that there's just across the hall, there's actually an arcade cabinet of it. You can play.
Oh yeah?
You can play it if you want to. Everyone can play it if they want to. It's right there in video games.
But, you know, I loved what they were doing, and specifically what I really loved, and I know I've said this before, but there's an easy joke. These are cute little ponies on a girly show about friendship and magic, and, you know, let's make them beat each other up. Like, there's an easy joke there, but they, you know, it could have been so cheap and so obvious, but they went deeper with it, and they made these characters fight in character. Right. And I was so impressed by that.
Everyone was, I mean, that's why it got such traction and got such notice, and
absolutely
and was its own worst enemy for that.
Yeah, well, and you know, the thing was that I was following the project, and I found out that it got, you know, they got the C&D, the cease and desist, and, you know, I mean, that's how the cookie crumbles. I mean, that's the risk you take when you make art out of, you know, something that belongs to someone else. So, I mean, I didn't think it was wrong that Hasbro did it, but what I did feel was really, really sorry for them. Like, so much work and so much interest, and in fact, if it hadn't been as popular as it was, it may not have gotten the cease and desist. So my heart just broke for them, because it was a passion project. It was made entirely out of love. They didn't even expect to get any money for it. They were just doing it out of pure love. So I reached out and wanted to offer them, you know, do what you're doing, but with characters that aren't owned by anybody. The characters that we can own ourselves, so nobody can tell us what to do with them. And I really just wanted to help them, because I felt bad.
Well, speaking as a Kickstarter sponsor of Them's Fightin' Herds, where does the project stand?
Well, you know, I mean, the Kickstarter was successful, that many of you may know, and literally, I mean, they just
got the goat. We got the goat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We reached stretch goals and everything, and there was a while there where we were scared, but they hit the ground running. Like the second it went, and we had been working on it in preparation and hope that the Kickstarter would go anyway. And seriously, I mean, they were ready to go. I mean, they started working on it the next day. So, and we still are, like constantly. Like, we have a little shared Dropbox folder, and every day there's just like files just constantly being updated, constantly, and they're doing the vast majority of the work. Like, I'm mostly providing character designs, and you know, I did most of the world building with you know, collaborating with them, and you know, wrote a few little stories. But I'm just kind of giving them the foundation, and then just letting them run with it, because they don't need my help. I mean, it's happening. It's happening. It's moving.
I want to play it. I can't wait.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
So, post Pony, there has been I don't know if I would quite call it an explosion, but there's at least been a trickle, there's at least been a sign that we are starting to see more woman-driven and girl-oriented projects that are succeeding, such as Steven Universe is a great example.
Yep.
Over on Cartoon Network. And one of her former co-workers, Darren Nefsey, was very successful with Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Yeah, yeah, she did.
Which just got renewed for a third season, despite So, in our previous chat, you said you didn't feel terribly like you kicked the door open for them, but at the same time, you know, the timing just does seem that, you know, Pony happens and suddenly, okay, well maybe we can market to girls.
Like you said, I'm not sure if I kicked the door open for them or not. I'm not privy to know whether or not there was any executive who went, yes, Steven Universe because My Little Pony. I have no idea.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't that direct.
Yeah, but what I think is really great, because there's shows like Star and Steven Universe are bucking the trend. It's like there's still tons of girls out there that are just about shopping and cell phones, and everybody's in high school. Like, how many shows are there about girls in high school? Like, that's the only thing a girl can do is be in high school.
I think in anime that's required by law.
Yeah. So, like, and that's the thing that like won't go away right now. It's a thing like. Zombies in high school, vampires in high school, princesses in high school, fairies in high school. Like that's the thing everybody's doing now. And shows like Star and Steven Universe came from studios and networks who were interested in doing something different and doing something not falling back on the market research or the we want to sell toys, you know.
And both been quite successful.
And they're extremely successful.
You were telling me that they're still not considered, you know, a big hit by TV standards.
It's I don't know what it is where it stands right now.
I mean,
they're
both being renewed off into perpetuity.
Yes, they absolutely are. But like, you know, when you look at like the numbers and the ratings, you know, people want, you know, like Gravity Falls numbers. You know, and anything that doesn't get numbers as high as Gravity Falls is considered like, you know. But obviously these are not, because like you said, they are renewed. They have been renewed, and I don't.
For multiple seasons now.
Yeah, and I don't know the numbers myself. I'm just repeating rumors and verbatim. So like, I don't know.
So before I open the floor to your questions, and you guys might want to start getting ready for that. So start lining up. Line up over there, line up over there, line up over there. You will be wrangled by some of our kind staffers. While they're doing that, Lauren, if you could just see... what would be like the thing you really would just want to see appear on, particularly in animation, particularly aimed at, you know, at all ages? You know, what kind of show would be the one that just makes you go, yeah?
Mine. I don't know. It's more the same. It's. I would like to see something with a nice budget and a nice schedule and some real support behind. Like I said, bucking these trends. I love that Star exists. I love that Steven Universe exists. I want to see less, you know, zombies in high school, or fashion zombies in high school, I should say.
Not naming any names here, are we?
Well, it's fashion whatever, and fashion fairies in high school, fashion aliens in high school, fashion, you know, I want to see less of that. And I want to see more, you know, deep relationships. I want to see more, you know, if not adventure, you know, adventure shows are fantastic, but, you know, like I spoke with somebody recently who's making a show that's directed at girls, and it's an adventure show, and her group of girls went to go do something scary, and a bunch of executives, the notes that she got was like, oh, that's really scary, maybe their dad should be with them. You know, and you know, thank God for her, she said no, but you know, I wish I had like a nice clean answer for you, because what my answer for you, what I really want to see is I want to take all of this stuff that I love and I want, and that I want to change, and I'm trying to put that together, and I'm trying to get another one out there.
Who wants to see that? Yeah, we all do. Okay, so let's open the floor to questions. Let's get our first questioner up there, guys. Or do we have people? Come on. Walk up to the nice man with the. Get in line and walk up to the nice man. Good.
That's good. Yeah, see everybody better.
All right. And by the way, don't forget, kids do get priority. Let the kids go first.
Children first.
Hello, you're on the air with Lauren Faust.
So hi Lauren.
Hello.
I just wanted to thank you so much for helping out on the show. I really appreciate it, and I love the show so much. It has made me so happy, and I just love it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And I'm her mom, and I want to piggyback on that because so sad to say, but on Saturday her cat died, and yesterday her grandmother died.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
it was a huge debate about coming in here, and just seeing her smile today. Thank you, because whatever you've done has made my child's life incredibly
Oh my goodness.
positive. So I just
Wow.
want to thank you for at least making today a great day for her.
Oh, well, you're very welcome, and it's my pleasure. And yeah,
Let's get some more questions. Silvermane, if you could actually go over there and go over there a little bit, about to the end of that row, and have people walk up and get up to the mic. Would you? Thank you. Come on. Don't be scared. Ooh, Adagio looking very nice.
What inspired you to make the main six with such different personalities?
well, it's kind of like what I said before. I wanted to demonstrate that there are lots of different ways to be a girl. So I wanted to make them very diverse. But it was also important to me to show that these girls who are so different from one another can still care about one another and still be friends.
What's your name?
Omisha.
What's your question, Alicia?
It's Omisha.
Oh, Alicia, I'm so sorry.
Okay, you're such an inspiration to me because I like doing art and I love your art and animation and everything's so fabulous.
Thank
and
you.
I did some art for you and I'd like to give it to you. Is it that okay?
Sure. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody else gets to answer their questions. If you want to wait around after the panel. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, next up. Don't be nervous, she won't bite, I promise.
So how long does it take from the moment you think it into your head to actually get it onto like a TV show channel?
It depends. Oh, you mean like when I think of the idea?
Yeah.
Like
when you
the
write
very
it
first
down.
time I think of it? It entirely depends. It depends on how bad the studio wants it. It depends on how fast their legal department works. So My Little Pony took about a year and a half. Well, no, about a year and a half until we started making it. So it was probably 2.5 years after I thought of it before it got on the air.
Well, although in a sense it had been brewing inside you since you were a kid.
Yes, so 30 years.
beginning of the show, how did you come up with the idea for having it like be the elements of harmony and having each individual pony have like their each individual element of friendship?
Well, you know, one thing that's really interesting about storytelling, especially when you're working with other people, is that, you know, part of it is just, I want to make this because I like this idea, and part of it is problem solving. Hasbro asked me to make the show about friendship. And they asked me to have the series open with a long form, you know, an hour-long special that, you know, you think the story structure has to be a little bit more like a movie. So I really wanted it to be exciting and adventure-y and magical, but they really wanted it to be about friendship. And I was like, how can I make both of those work together? And I just thought about it, and I wrote a lot of notes, and I drew a lot of pictures, and that's the elements of harmony came to me. That how can I make magic and friendship come together? And it was problem solving, and that's what I came up with to solve that problem.
Also, I just want to say that the show has really helped me improve my art. It's served as such a huge inspiration. I was wondering if I could maybe give you some of my art.
I would love it. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, guys, no trying to get Lauren to sign stuff on the stage. So
Yeah, we just want to make sure everybody can get, as many people as possible can get their questions answered.
And if you have a gift for Lauren, well, just, you know, definitely come up and give it to her, but we got to be quick about it, because we have a lot of people waiting to ask questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like this nice lady here, who's waiting to ask her question very patiently.
Hi, Lauren. I wanted to know, what is Craig McCracken's opinion on My Little Pony?
Oh, he hates it. he threatened me with divorce. No, he loves it. He loves it, and he's really proud of me. And the whole time I was making it, there were certain moments that where he, you know, when he first saw the animation come through, when he heard the auditions, specifically when he heard Rainbow Dash's voice for the same time, he was like, that character is going to be a star. This show is going to be a hit. Like before, like it ever was a hit, before it was even on TV. So he's been wonderfully supportive, and he's very proud of me, which I'm very proud of him for being proud of me.
I don't know, was there ever any a little professional envy though, because it became quite the cultural phenomenon?
No, well, you know what's kind of cool is, you know, I mean, he had Powerpuff Girls, for God's sake, you know?
Yeah, but there aren't any Powerpuff Girls conventions.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing that we compare. Powerpuff Girls became a household name, and it became a worldwide phenomenon that just people, like, there were years where every little girl you saw was wearing a Powerpuff Girls t-shirt. So Powerpuff Girls became this, like, huge thing for, like, everybody, where My Little Pony became a big thing, became like a cult hit in a weird, in a way, because, like, you know, I mean, you all love My Little Pony, and you all know about My Little Pony, but, you know, maybe only every 30 people I meet are familiar with it, whereas everybody I meet knows Powerpuff Girls. So you can't really compare them. You can't really compare.
All right, we have a young guest who wants to ask a question.
What's your name, sweetheart?
Alana Mora.
Okay, what'd you like to ask Laura?
My Little Pony is the best show ever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love your costume. You look adorable.
Hi Lauren, I just wanted to thank you so much for creating an awesome show. And my question was, if you could have any of the main six as a best friend in real life, which one would you choose and why?
Oh my God, let me think.
I noticed that you didn't phrase it as what this was your favorite pony. So
Yes. No, I never thought of it that way before. Twilight.
Best pony.
I think she would just make an exceptional friend, yes.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
My question is, what inspired some of the villains like Discord or Luna or Nightmare Moon?
Nightmare Moon was very inspired by Maleficent, who's my favorite Disney villain. And Discord, it's so obvious. He's inspired by Q. Like 100%. I remember when we were discussing him in the story room, and I was trying to say, "Oh, he's chaos, and he plays around with people, and he messes with your mind." And everybody was looking at me like, "What? And I said, "He's like Q." And they went, "Oh." So yeah, those are very cheaty answers, but I just looked to villains that I already loved.
Thank you.
I bet John Delancey's kicking himself right about now.
My question is, why did you first include Spike in the show? Was it just to have a mandatory male character, or was it something more?
No, actually, it was because Spike was a character in the 80s with the 80s toys. He was in the 80s cartoon as well. But there was this wonderful playset that came out with a big pink castle and a queen named Majesty, and she had a little dragon named Spike who was like her little servant, I want to say, for lack of a better word. But and I loved him. I loved that little toy. And he was a big part of the property. He just kept showing up over and over again in all the shows that they made. So I felt like he needed to be included. He's part of the DNA of My Little Pony, and he had to stay.
Hello?
Hi there.
My question is how you handle with the production, feeling like, there will be sometimes it will be a little bit too stressful, how you're coping with it, making a film or TV production, even just a short.
You just kind of have to put your head down and work your way through it. You just grit your teeth and, never give up.
Never surrender.
Yeah. I know that's a boring, simple answer, but it's just, it's hard, but you gotta, believe in yourself and believe in your vision and just power through it as best you can.
It's like I am trying to tell you that question because...
Can you speak into the mic a little more clearly?
Oh, sorry. Because I'm saying that kind of type of question because for me, I'm kind of more into the creative person view. And being here, I raised here in the Bay Area, and it's really kind of difficult seeing that type of view. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do is to go to an emotional place of remember why you're doing it and why it's worth keeping on. Good luck.
Hi, so my question was, with relation to writing a show, when you build a world and the characters and the set pieces within a world, how exactly do you plan, just in general, to evolve or change the show over time? Is that like a preset, like a plan you make before or during the production?
Everybody does it differently. I know about shows that, the creators had an ending in mind before they started it. I know creators who came up with shows like Powerpuff Girls, for instance, where it was a theme that you could repeat over and over and over again as long as you could come up with the content that always points back to your theme. So, you just kind of... you do what feels right. That's what being an artist is. It's like there's planning and there's skill and there's going to school and there's learning, and then there's just the part where it's just in your gut where you go, that's what feels right. That's what seems right, and that's what I like the best, and you just follow that path, whether that means I want this ending to happen and I'm gonna work my way there, or I'm just gonna make it up as I go. You know, it all works, and that's what being an artist is.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
I've been trying to ask this question the last, I don't know, like 2 or 3 conventions that you were at, but
Sorry.
I was always the last in the line, and always
Hey,
ran
you
out
made
of
it
time.
this time, so-
finally. So it is a little outdated. So I know that you aren't as involved with the development of My Little Pony now as you used to be, but from a writing standpoint, like a show can only go on so long before it starts kind of deteriorating, and with a rating like TVY means that there's a lot of limitations to what content can be in the show. Do you know, or do you think if there ever might be a time when maybe season 7 or season 8 where they might ever consider increasing the rating to open up some of those barriers?
I hate to disappoint you since you've been waiting so long to answer this question. I'm not the right person to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you said my involvement in My Little Pony is less than it was. I'm not involved in it at all anymore, so I don't know what their goals are. I don't know what Hasbro's looking for now that the show has evolved, so that might be a better question for someone who's currently working on the show, so I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I have a question about them's fighting herds for you.
Awesome.
So I don't know how much you know about fighting herds, but generally they don't have the strongest characters and backstories and things like that. So it's a welcome change of pace to have you working on a fighting game for once.
Thank you.
Anyways, my question is, where did you get your sources of inspiration, if any, for development of all the new roster for them's fighting herds and the backstory?
Well, you know, it's a combination of things. It's part, like what I said before, talked about problem solving. These guys had already built and designed these fantastic, you know, moves and DNA of that game that they couldn't completely start from scratch, although the more we make it, the more we change it. So I had the problem to solve of going, how can I create a character who would have, for instance, a similar skill set to Rarity, but be different from Rarity. So that was a problem I had to solve. And so we talked about using lots of different and also the other problem we had to solve was like, how can we make this so different from My Little Pony that we can't get in trouble? So I approached it with those kind of problem solving. We found our basic fundamental answers to those problems, and then we were able to grow it creatively and organically from there. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, thank you.
Hey Laura, Boston.
Hi.
I wanted this question. I seen the original Faust go and they were rebooted again. So my question is, if just most of the animation quality going hand cell like old stuff, or they're going futuristic like those computer generated quality stuff?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
About the hand drawn, there were old one, and the computer generated, which is new, like My Little Pony, and then reboot the Powerpuff Girls, which is like flash animation.
I think you might be asking about the difference between your perception of the difference between the more modern computer-generated work versus old school cell-based. I mean, is that correct?
In reference to the new Powerpuff Girls?
We're talking about most of the cartoon animation of this. You couldn't
Well, it depends on the show. A lot of shows are still pretty traditionally done. I think Steven Universe is. I think Gravity Falls was. I think the new Powerpuff Girls is. They're still at least started on paper. They don't paint cells anymore, but they'll animate on paper and then color in the computers. And then shows like My Husband's Wander Over Yonder and Shows like Teen Titans Go are like made in programs. Similar to Flash, one called Harmony is used a lot, then it looks very traditional. And then of course there's shows that are done like full-on CG. You know, it's the difference is just the execution, and the differences are really only technical, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is it's still telling stories, and it's still creating characters, and it's still about somebody's got to draw it on paper the first time around, you know, or draw it on a Wacom tablet. So in a weird sort of way, it really isn't any different.
Yeah, because I'm doing good judging the quality shows between television and movies.
Oh yeah, well the difference between television and movies is money.
Lots of money.
Budgets.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, so my question was in regards to Pinkie Pie's character. Now, I know to many she appears to be that character that can just pop up randomly and so forth, but was she meant to be that type of character, or was she meant to be more of a free-spirited type of character?
She was meant to be that way to a degree, and I think it was working so well, it just kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. But I remember early on, there were some jokes with other characters that, you know, a storyboard artist might break the fourth wall with another character, and I remember saying, no, that's for Pinkie Pie. Nobody else gets to do that. You know, it's in order to make her special. That was really always the intention with her, but like once we started doing it, it felt so good, we just made it bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I consider you and your husband two of my childhood animators, and I just want to thank you both so much for all you've done, and I hope I get the opportunity to pass your work on to the next generation. So this is what I grew up with, and these cartoons were great.
Oh,
and
well, thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Hello, Lauren.
Hi there.
I'm Suzanne. My question is that even though Star versus the Forces of Evil, it's still kind of in a high school setting, though. What sets it apart from the other? Obviously, we know from the other high school settings, but what sets it mostly apart from the traditional high school setting?
Because it's only some of it's in high school. You know, it's like they present Star of the Forces of Evil, as far as I can tell, sets high school. It's not about high school. It's about these two kids, and school is part of their lives. You know, the Powerpuff Girls went to school too. You know, it's like, but a lot of these other shows are like, there's no life for these characters outside of school. Like, their whole world is school and school politics. And I think that's fine. I actually developed a show briefly that was about kids in high school. But there were other themes to it besides just high school's fun. So that's, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but that's basically it. In Star, high school is just part of this greater, amazing, fantastical, adventurous life she has. It's just part of it. It's not her whole world.
Yeah, many of the episodes don't even reference the high school at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was exactly my question. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
Hi, Lauren. I just was thinking about, you know, how you mentioned earlier, when you pitch ideas to studios, they're like, well, you know, this is kind of a girls' cartoon. We already have one. We don't want to eat it. They're reluctant to jump on that board. My question is, you know, as shows like MLP, Star versus the Forces of Evil, Steven Universe, shows that...
Legend of Korra.
Yeah, Legend of Korra, that are made by female designers and animators, or even have more of a target, could be interpreted as targeting females. as they kind of break those stereotypes and become very positively received and popular, do you think that could potentially, kind of erode that stigma or reluctance among studios?
Absolutely, absolutely. We just have to keep doing it, and they still have to be open to give it a try, and people like you all have to continue to be open to giving it a try, and not being afraid to say you like a girls' show. I absolutely think, in fact, I think that's the only thing that will do it. It's going to take time and persistence.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right, I got it. All right.
Just real quick, everybody, I'm so sorry, but I've just been informed that we've only got, we don't have a whole ton of time left, so if everybody can just phrase your questions as quickly as you can, and I'll try to answer them more quickly.
Quickly then, you speak a lot about the industry being run by men and a lot of boys' cartoons being in demand. What do you think the industry would look like if it were run by women and the women being in demand?
Well, let me tell you, we're going to see soon enough, because right now, all the animation schools, there's more girls than boys.
Hey.
So it's going to happen. Just wait.
Yeah, I just had a quick question about, you were saying a lot about networks being kind of a limiting factor. How has Netflix changed the landscape?
I have not worked with Netflix, but from what I understand from people I know who have, Netflix's model, from what I understand, and other web-based programmers, they just want to make stuff that's good and they know it'll find its audience, rather than TV and networks. They have to attract advertisers more than they have to attract an audience. So in that respect, I would imagine that they would be more open to that kind of programming. I haven't tested it out yet.
Thank you.
Rather impressive Discord cue coming up here. Like that.
That's a pretty good mashup.
Greetings, Empress Faust. I had a rather interesting question. Given that the character of Superman is known to be weak against magic, if he were in a conflict with any of the characters from Equestria, would he be at a disadvantage?
I think so.
Yeah, just says Martha.
Yeah, Try would definitely, kick his butt.
I think Celestia would take him down.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, who wants to actually see Nicole Oliver do that? I think that'd be
I would. Hi, Lauren.
There?
I'm Joe.
Hi, Joe.
When you wrote the story about Nightmare Moon being redeemed in her defeat, it seemed like it was a really powerful story that has kind of set the theme for the whole show. What are some other story themes that are important to you personally?
There's plenty. One thing that I liked about My Little Pony and I was excited about giving a try is, a lot of people say they don't like stories with morals or lessons in them, and I think that's silly. The problem with stories with morals and lessons in them is sometimes they're just too heavy-handed, and especially kids when they see that they're being taught a lesson, they go, ugh. And they don't like it because they don't like being told what to do, and they get plenty of that at school. So what was an interesting challenge to me that I was excited about was, I think you can tell a lesson as long as your story is good and fun and compelling and you care about the characters and you work your way to that lesson, and half of the time you don't even know you learned a lesson. So, and I'm besides all the, girls can be strong and girls can be powerful and girls, let's not rely on stereotypes. I'm happy to tell stories about being good and loving people and making the right decisions and sticking up for yourself. It's just all the traditional, nursery rhyme, fairy tale, good and evil type stuff. I'm happy to tell those stories as long as there's like genuine emotional core to it.
Okay, folks, we're running out of time, so we're going to take, this is going to be the last question, I'm afraid. This is going to be the last question. Sorry, everybody. I know you all wanted to get in.
There's never enough time.
Never enough time. We do have to reset the room for the cosplay contest, so, what are you going to do?
Hello, I was wondering, is there any significance to Rarity's cutie mark and the jewel on Celestia's crown and necklace?
I hope I don't disappoint you, but no. They're just jewels. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you everybody for all of your questions. Before you get up, I'm going to indulge myself just a little bit and say to Lauren, thank you for giving me a piece of my childhood that I never had as a child.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for watching the show.